Hello, welcome to Slow Academy, and I'm reaching you from Slow Studio. My name is David Ando, and today we'll be looking at the things to do before starting a recording. And of course, we'll be using Cubase Pro as an example to illustrate this. If we have the time, we'll also look at what to do on FL Studio for FL users. So we have to launch our Cubase, and it gives you a hub screen where you can start a new project. If you look at this project, you have under the project you have recent, we have recordings, we have scoring, production, mastering. So this is a complete suite. Under the recent, you see the recent project you have worked on, that you can easily just double tap to open one of them. And under recording, you have some templates that you can just click and start, whether you are recording a song that has that would be having an acoustic guitar with a vocal. So whether you be having a clean guitar with a vocal, or whatever preset you like to use, you can just double tap and you get straight into it. You have scoring for musicians. If you want to put your song in sheet music, then you can use this option to get some presets. And under production, you have some other presets too, if you want to start with making beats and all that, if your beat is not already prepared. And under mastering, of course, you have stereo mastering. You can use this software too to do your mastering if you don't like using another plugin or software to use to master your song. Now what we want to do is we have to create an empty project, and we have to tell Cubase where to store this empty project. There is a default directory that you can set for Cubase to always store your new project, and you can tell Cubase to prompt for a project location each time you want to. Probably you don't want to put it in this directory, and you want to put it in a new directory. So if you are putting it in this directory, you just type the name of the session, which will be the folder name. But now we're using these options, that is a prompt for project location. So immediately you click that, you just tap the create empty. All right, so let's create an empty project. Now the first thing that should come to your mind is the session that will be holding your project, and that will be a folder. On desktop, I will be making a new folder, and I will call this setup. Let's say Cubase setup. All right, so that is the name of my session, and I will double click on it to open it. So what you should just do is, after naming the folder, you double tap it and you click on what? Select folder. So now you are in your Cubase project. You have not saved your project, you only create a session for you to work. To save this project, I encourage saving it even before you start anything. You have to go Ctrl X, or you go to your file and you click on save, which is the same thing as your Ctrl X on window. And when you click that, it takes you right back into the session that you created, Cubase setup, which you have to type the project name. Now this is what carries your CPR extension. This is the actual file that you double tap whenever you want to edit or work on this same project. Now we'll retain the name Cubase setup class. All right, let's use that. Then after that, you click on save. On desktop, you have Cubase setup, which is the session we created, and inside the Cubase setup session you have your Cubase setup class, which carries the CPR file, which is actually your project, and the ingredients of your project definitely will be stored here. Every audio you recorded will be stored in the audio folder that is automatically created. And since we have not done anything on this, so you can find the audio folder empty. Okay, now you have an empty page, you have your workspace, you have the inspector, and you can set your visibility for the tracks that you want to actually edit here. And if you want everything to show up, you don't need to bother about the visibility section. And you have the left panel, the visibility, and the inspector section comes on the left panel, and you have the bottom panel. This might look a bit complex, but if you look right here at the upper right edge, you have some buttons to activate and deactivate your left panel or left zone panel. Then you have the right zone panel too, and you have the bottom panel too. So on the bottom you have the editor view, you have the sampler control, chord paths, and all that. So in the left and the right, I mean, you have your meter, you have the control room, the media, and the VSTI. So we'll still have time to really dive in deep into all those zones, but for now what we want to do is to set up our Cubase to starting a project. The first thing you need to do is you have to set up your device, which is your device setup. To do that, you have to go to Studio and you click on Studio Setup. In the older version, I think it is a device that you find, and in this new version you'll be working on Studio Setup panel. So this Studio Setup dialog box will appear, and everything that you have here are considered as a device that is attached to your system. Is a MIDI device, is an audio device, and whatever device you have attached, you have to set them up in Cubase for you to start using them. And now we want to set up our sound card, which is very important. So on the audio system, you tap into it, and by the side here, audio or audio driver, you click on this list to select which sound card you have connected. So if your sound card is connected and the driver has been installed, properly installed, you should find it here. So click on the sound card name of that you have connected to your system, and in my case it is a audio bus audio driver. So I will click on audio bus. The audio bus will come up here. So when you click on the audio bus, you can now set the input and output. My audio bus is 4/4, which means the 4 input and 4 output. So you can have 1 2 3 4 input and 1 2 3 4 output. So if I disable this, it will be hidden in Cubase. I won't be able to use it. So let me cancel that. It means that I have my 4 input visible, and I have 2 output visible. All right, I can also rename this as show as. So for example, my first input is I named it as mic and instrument 1, mic instrument 2. So that is what I will see in Cubase, rather than saying line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. You get it? So I can also rename this as my main speaker. Okay, main speaker, okay, 1 will be left, main speaker left, and main speaker right. Okay, so after setting my sound card, I will have to click on OK. After that, you go to your studio menu and you click on audio connections. This is actually where you will configure the number of input you actually want to use on that sound device, on the audio device. And in this dialog box, you can configure the input, you can configure the output, you can configure the group effects, you can configure the external effects. You will have some external gears to use with your mixing, and if you want to use them on group. And you have external instrument. If you have external instrument you want to configure to use directly with Cubase, and you have the control room section. But today we'll be looking at the input and the output section. So under the input, you can just set the input that you want under the device port. For the line 1, you can set which mic to record through line 1, the one to record through line 2. But you can also make it even simpler. Instead of the stereo in that you have in your bus name, you can delete that by if I click on it. You have to click on remove bus stereo in. So when you click on remove bus stereo in, you have no input. So even if you create a track and you want to record it, you have nothing coming into your channel. So you have to add a new bus, but in this case you'll be presented with the option to add either mono or stereo or surround and all of that. But here I want to pick my mono under configuration. And how many numbers? I have 4 channels available on my sound card, so I will use 4 count mono input. Then I will click. If I'm using just one, I can just type the name that I want Cubase to see that channel as. So but for now I will just click on add bus. Then you have them mono 1, mono 2, mono 3, mono 4. These are all the inputs that I have on my sound card. So whatever I want Cubase whatever I want this line to be displayed on my channel, I can put it here. I can say lead mic. Okay, then I can say lead mic 2, mic 2. Okay, lead mic 2. Then I can say backup mic, backup mic 1. Okay, so when I go under my output, then you can also set this should be on stereo left and right. You can see the names that I've configured in my studio setup, the main speaker left and the main speaker right as well. So you can select that here. If you are using a different, if for example you have more than one sound card, probably you are using ASIO for all or ASIO device that can add 2 or more devices at once. So under this place you can click on your audio bus under audio device and select the actual sound card that you want to use or device that you want to use with the output. And you can also do the same thing here, but because I'm using audio bus ASIO, that is why audio bus ASIO is the only one that Cubase can find here. I can also save this. You can save this as a preset, I mean under the input. Then I can say for mono input. So whenever I lost or Cubase locks this settings, I can just come here and select it. This is empty. This is for mono input. You can get back your settings. You can also do same thing here. I've saved it already as audio bus 1 2, so you can also do the same thing to that. And let's save preset. All right, that doesn't mean. Let's close this bus. Now you are fully set up your device, and the next thing you want to do is to set up your projects. Okay, so let's go to a project setup. Under this project you have to go to project setup. and you can also access this by pressing Shift S. Just type Shift S on your keyboard and you have this dialog box. Okay, so you have to go straight to your sample rate, your record file format. So this determines the quality of the audios you are recording. Okay, that's the sample rate. You have different qualities, so depending on the capacity of your audio device. So you have lowest quality, which is 44 kilowatts. You have other qualities which are higher, and 48 kilohertz happens to be the minimum quality that you can select for your studio recording. Anything lesser than that is not a good quality to record in the studio. So depending on your processing power, then you can select even higher quality. Okay, so if you want to select higher quality, if your computer has a high processing power that can handle it, you can even go as high as 96 kilowatts, 64 kilowatts and all that. But for now we'll be using 48 kilowatts, which is the minimum that you can select, so your CPU can stay under this. So your bit depth also determines tests on the quality of audio that you are recording. You can imagine if you record in 44 kilowatts and after your project you export, you have to export as 44 kilowatts, of course, and when you export as that, there is a belief that the quality would have dropped lesser than 44 kilowatts, and when you take it to your mastering projects and all that, at the end of the day you are having a lesser quality than even the standard quality that all devices will play your music on. But if you have 48 kilowatts, something higher than that, which is the minimum studio recording quality, and by the time you do all your processing, exporting, you will have something lesser than this, but not getting to 44 kilowatts, and at the end of the day you have to bounce or render your final project of mastering at 44 kilowatts, so you still retain your qualities and all that. Then the deep bit depth, 16 bit is the is not recommended for studio recording, and the minimum that is recommended is 24 bit. You can even have higher, but the implication of having higher quality here is it tests on your CPU processing power. Your CPU, your system is not strong enough to handle your project, then you will have you'll be facing some challenges. And secondly, your hard disk space. If you don't have much hard disk space that to store or large files, because the more the quality goes up, the larger the files that will be saved on your system. So these two are very important, the sample rate and the bit depth. And after that you can also put the name of the company, the producer name, or the artist name here. So then you click on OK. Now you have set up your devices and you have set up your project to start working. So the next thing you want to do is to set the tempo of the project. Okay, you have to type in the tempo, the speed of the project, and after typing in the tempo, then you can now go in and start creating your channels. So let's create some channels, probably creating 2 or 3 channels. So you right click on this area of the screen, or you go to your project menu and click on Add Track. So when you right click here, you see Add Track, Project, Add Track, you're hitting the same thing. So you have different tracks that you can add, but for now we are adding an audio track. When you click on audio track, of course you are presented with either you are recording a mono or a stereo or surround channel. You have to select the input where you want a signal to come into that channel, audio input. Then you have to select whether you are recording a stereo or a mono. So when you are recording a voice from a mic, then it should be set to mono. If you are recording from a tape, or you are recording a master through your compressors or your hardwares, then you can use your stereo. But recording a song from a mic should be configured as mono. Then where do you want the signal to come out from after recording? Then of course it is stereo out, except you have created a separate group for that. Then you can type in the name of the track. You can say recording. Okay, if this is a single channel, or like you are creating just one channel, then you can just type the name of the channel, which is lead vocal, okay, or lead vocal 1 or something like that. Then when you click on add track, it's going to add a single track that carries that name and all that configuration. So when you look at the left panel, if you go to the up right up here, you can see the where to hide or show the left zone. So when you show the left zone, you can see the inspector, the property of this channel that you have created. It has the volume. Then here too, you can, if you decide to change where the signal is coming from into the channel, you can as well change that. Okay, and where the output is going, you can as well change that. That is why when you are creating this channel, you don't really need to bother about the input and output, because you can also still edit that on your inspector. Let's add more tracks. You go to add audio track, and you can add more tracks to that. Let's add about 5 tracks to that mono. In this time, this case, we won't be putting any name here. Then you click on of course configuration is mono, add track. So you can see you had more than one track, and here you can now double click on this name audio 01 to rename it. Probably you have a duet, okay, and probably you have an ad-lib, probably you have 3 backups too. You can select them and just double tap here. Then you have a backup, okay, backup 2, and backup 3. Okay, so basically that's how you all set up your projects, and you start your recording. So thank you, and this is basically what you need to do before you start recording any song. See you in the next class. Thank you for watching. If you find this video helpful, please drop a comment, like, and subscribe to our channel. You may also want to turn on notifications so you don't miss out on other tutorial videos.